Hello everyone. For today's lesson, we are going to discuss all about kite. So a kite is a quadrilateral that has two pairs of consecutive congruent sides, but opposite sides are not congruent. So let us have this figure. Suppose this is QRST. We have here quadrilateral QRST. What makes this a quadrilateral, a kite? Because according to the definition, it has two pairs of consecutive congruent sides. So meron daw dalawang pares na magkasunod at congruent. And if we are going to look at this figure, based on the figure and on the marking, of course, we can have the first pair that are consecutive and congruent. Of course, we have segment QT, and segment QR. These two sides are congruent based on the markings. At the same time, they are consecutive. Another pair of consecutive congruent sides based on the markings, we have here segment ST is congruent to segment SR. So again, these two consecutive sides are congruent. And according here, there should be no opposite sides that are congruent. So based on that, imposible that sa kite magkakaroon tayo ng all sides are congruent because according here, opposite sides are not congruent. So let's have the theorems that involves kite. Number 1, we have diagonals are perpendicular. So in a kite, the diagonals are perpendicular. So they are going to intersect at 90 degrees. That is what we mean by perpendicular. Number 2, exactly one pair of opposite angles are congruent. Again, exactly one pair of opposite angles are congruent. There are two pairs of opposite angles, but in a kite, there is only one pair of opposite angles that are congruent. And based on here, ayan, meron namang markings. This means that these two angles are congruent. Ano? So meaning to say, if this one, for example, is 95 degrees, this will tell you that this is also 95 degrees. So isang pares lang ng opposite angles ang congruent. Let's have theorem number 3. Exactly one diagonal bisects a pair of opposite angle. So exactly one diagonal bisect a pair of opposite angles. So hindi lahat ng diagonal will bisect opposite angles. There's only one here. And if you are going to look at here, which diagonal bisect opposite angle? Which diagonal? Yes, we have diagonal CD or segment CD. It bisect which angle? We have angle C and angle D. Based on the markings, ayan o, parehong X. So it means these two are congruent. In the same manner, same ang markings niyan. It means these two angles are also congruent. So if you are going to look closely at here, what have you noticed? The longer diagonal is the one that bisect a pair of opposite angles. Isa lang. Also in number 4, exactly one diagonal bisect the other diagonal. So hindi diagonals bisect each other. There is only one diagonal that bisect the other diagonal. Kindly look clearly which diagonal bisect the other diagonal. Yes, based on here, we have this segment is congruent to this segment. Suppose this is point O, the point of intersection of the diagonals is point O. You are going to notice that based on the markings, we have AO is congruent to BO. It means that diagonal CD bisects diagonal AB. So again, which diagonal bisect the other diagonal based on here? Yes, again, it is the longer diagonal that bisect the smaller diagonal. And then number 5, we have here, exactly one diagonal form congruent triangles. So isang diagonal lang daw. Now, ito bang diagonal na ito, congruent ba ang dalawang triangle? Definitely hindi. So this is the diagonal that divides our kite into two congruent triangles. Which diagonal? Again, it is the longer diagonal. So if we have here K-I-T-E, alin ang binisect? We have EI bisect the kite into two congruent triangles. So we have triangle I-K-E. Triangle I-K-E, we are referring with this triangle sa taas. It is congruent to triangle I-T-E. because IE divides the kite into two congruent triangles. Now, let us answer the following by applying the different theorems that I have discussed earlier. So, we have number 1, find the measure of Q. Find the measure of angle Q. Given that PQRS is a kite, angle P is 83 degrees, and angle R is 41 degrees. So, we have here angle Q and angle S. What you are asked is to find the measure of angle Q. So, how are we going to answer this? Knowing that the sum of the interior angles of any quadrilateral is equal to 360, then the equation that we are going to use to find for the measure of angle Q will be measure angle Q plus measure angle R plus measure angle S plus measure angle P is equal to 360 degrees. And since angle Q and angle S are the opposite angles of a kite that are congruent, then we can write measure angle S is equal to measure angle Q. Therefore, angle S here can be written as measure angle Q. So from here, we will be having twice the measure of angle Q plus measure angle R plus measure angle P is equal to 360 degrees. Then we have again measure angle Q. Then substitute the given. Angle R is 41 degrees plus angle P is 83 degrees. That it will equal to 360 degrees. To simplify, twice measure angle Q plus 41 plus 83 is 124 equals 360. Then using APE, we will be having twice measure angle Q equals 360 minus 124. And if we get the difference of 360 and 124, it will give us 200. We have 236, and then you are going to divide both sides by 2. That is why measure angle Q is equal to the quotient of 236 and 2 is 118. So measure angle Q is 118 degrees, meaning to say this is 118 degrees, this one also is 118 degrees. And if you add everything here, 118 plus 41 plus 118 plus 83, definitely that will be equal to 360 degrees. I hope you get it. Let us have the second example. In here, you are going to get the measure of angle Y. So let's have angle Y. Sige. Then we will be having here angle Y. Now, what is the measure of angle Y? We have here. How are you going to get it? What theorem you are going to apply? Number 1 theorem that you are going to apply is that the diagonals in a kite are perpendicular. Meaning to say this is 90 degrees. Right angle because it is perpendicular. Now, how are we going to get angle Y? We will be using another theorem that the longer diagonal bisect opposite angles. So, ibig sabihin, if this is angle Y, this is also angle Y. Because they have the same measure, they are congruent because this is the longer diagonal, so it will divide this to this opposite angle. So equal lang yan, dalawang yan. So we can write this one as angle Y as well. And how are we going to get Y? That would be, we have here Y is equal to, angle Y is equal to, we have 180, we have here a triangle. This is our triangle. And as you all know, in a triangle, the sum of the interior angles is always equal to 180 degrees. So you have 180, the sum of the interior angles of any triangle. You are going to subtract the measure of the angle here since it is perpendicular, meaning that is 90. And also, you are going to subtract the given angle here. So we have here 40. So what is 180 minus 90? That is 90. 90 minus 40, that is 50. Which tell us that angle Y is equal to 50 degrees. So meaning to say this is 50 degrees. And of course, itong tinutukoy na, ito, Y is also 50 degrees. Kasi nga, these two are congruent because this is the diagonal that bisect opposite angles. Let's consider the third example. We have here angle 1, hahanapin natin, angle 2, and also angle 3. So how are we going to get it? Again, ang una nating makukuha, it is a kite. So this is perpendicular. So we can say that angle 2 is 90 degrees. And then also we can get angle 3 because this is the diagonal that bisect opposite angles. So if this is 48, meaning to say angle 3 is also 48 degrees. 48 degrees. And how are we going to get angle 1? Again, this is a triangle. So to get angle 1, it must be 180 minus 90 minus 48. So we have 180, 90, that is 90 minus 48. So let's have this 8. So we have 4. Okay, so it means angle 1 is 42 degrees. So this is 42 degrees. I hope you get it. Now let's have this one. Solve the area of a kite whose diagonal length is equal to 21.5 centimeter and the diagonal 2 is equal to 15.8 centimeter. So you are asked to get the area of the kite given or the measure of the diagonals. The first diagonal is 21.5 centimeter and the other diagonal is 15.8 centimeter. So if we are going to get the area, we have here, note, the area of a kite is half the product of its diagonal. So the area of the kite is equal to half the product of the diagonal. So we have d sub 1 multiplied by d sub 2. Or it can be written as d sub 1 multiplied by d sub 2 over 2. If we are going to illustrate our diagonal, our kite, so these are the diagonals. Sige, we have A, B, C, D. So based on the given, 21.5 ang ating longer diagonal. So AC is equal to 21.5. And then segment BD is equal to 15.8. And if we are going to create an equation to solve it, we have the area is equal to the 1/2 the product of we have AC multiplied by BD. Then you are just going to substitute. Our AC is 21.5. Our BD is 15.8 divided by 2. Now, let us get the product. What is 21.5 multiplied by 15.8? It is equal to 339.7. And if you divide it by 2, then the answer will be 169.85. So this is our answer. And of course, the unit here is centimeter. So the unit of the area is square centimeter. This will be the area. So that is all about kite. You just need to remember the following. Number 1, the diagonals are perpendicular. Number 2, there is only one pair of opposite angles that are congruent. Number 3, there is only one diagonal that bisect a pair of opposite angles. 4, there is exactly one diagonal that bisect the other diagonal. 5, there is one diagonal that forms two congruent triangles. And then lastly, the area of the kite is half the product of its diagonal. That's it for today. I hope you get it. Thank you for watching.